Okay, good evening, council, staff. I'm waiting for a couple more councillors to turn their video on. Councillor Fitzgerald. Okay, I'm going to call the meeting to order, although I can't confirm that everyone's present. I will say that Councillor Weeb is away tonight. We're not expecting him. We are expecting Councillor Fitzgerald, and Councillor Thompson was on earlier, and he is not on any longer. We better just wait a second or two in case somebody's having trouble. Tanya, you or Crystal aren't hearing anything from Councillor Thompson, are you?
I have not.
Okay. Okay, well, we do have quorum, so we'll start. And I will ask actually Deputy Mayor Alcock to read the land acknowledgement statement tonight.
Okay. I would like to respectfully acknowledge that we are on the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe under the terms of the Robinson-Huron Treaty, number 61 of 1850, and the Williams Treaties of 1923. We commit to acknowledge, learn, educate, create opportunity, honor sacred places, and take actions toward real truth and reconciliation in support of our commitment to walking the path together in respect, peace, and harmony for future generations.
Thanks for that. And everyone will see that staff and council are dressed in their orange shirts tonight, and that's in recognition of Orange Shirt Day, which we will talk about soon. Have a resolution moved by Councillor Schumacher and seconded by Councillor Armour. Be it resolved that the regular council meeting agenda dated Monday, September 27th, 2021 be adopted as printed and circulated. All in favor? And that carries. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest? Seeing none? Oh, here comes Councillor Thompson. Perfect timing. Okay, I just asked for declarations of pecuniary interest, Councillor Thompson. Do you have anything tonight? Okay. Okay, our first invited presentation tonight, one that gives me great pleasure, and we have two volunteers with us tonight, and there they are on the screen, and they're in the CAO's office. And it's quite a pleasure for me to welcome them here tonight to our council meeting. I don't know, council, if you can remember that it was just over a year ago that the pandemic was fierce and the hospital made the decision to staff only one COVID test center, and that would be in Bracebridge. And that was a oh no moment for me and all of us, I think. And fortunately, Dr. Marr also said oh no and worked tirelessly to make sure that we had a COVID test center happening here in Huntsville. She organized all of the doctors, paramedics, nurses, our staff helped out in all of that, and we made the facility available. So we certainly thank everybody that has been working at that COVID test center for the last year. But tonight is about two ladies that volunteered, Mika Bile and Arlene Crozier, and they've been volunteering at the center 3 days a week, every week for over a year. They hit their 1-year anniversary last Wednesday. When we started this, we thought we'd get a group of volunteers together and schedule different days, but the ladies said, it's okay, we got this. And they certainly have had it now for a year. The first 6 months, they greeted every COVID possible person without even being vaccinated. And then we finally got them vaccinated. But if you've had a COVID test in Huntsville, you've probably met these two extraordinary volunteers. We don't pay them anything. That's why they're called volunteers. And Arlene actually asked me a little while ago, back towards the end of the summer, if I'd double her pay, because she was working also as an ambassador, directing people to where they got their train tickets and where the public washrooms were. And I have to warn you, if you hang around for another few weeks, I'm sure you'll be telling everybody where the fall colors are at Lions Lookout. So thank you for that. I did double your pay, by the way, but 2 times nothing is still nothing. So tonight, on behalf of council and the town, I want to thank you very much. And it's a very small word, but it comes from the heart, and it comes with admiration and appreciation for everything you've done. We've got a small thank you gift for you, and we wish you all the best in year 2. Actually, I'm just joking, but hopefully we won't go through another full year of this. But I really do want to say thank you for everything you've done. I know that 3 days a week, every week is a lot. I can't remember what the hours started out as. I think it was pretty much a full day. Now at least we're down to half days, but you guys have gone above and beyond. So thank you very, very much.
I think it's our pleasure. Thank you, Ken.
Yeah, you're welcome, Your Honor.
Denise will give you a little parting gift.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. And remember, it's better to vaccinate than cremate.
You keep telling them that. Thanks again.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye. Next, we have another special introduction, and Simone's going to do that for us. And we have a new manager of Recreation, Culture, and Heritage, and that's Trish Conley-Knight. And I think Trish has been with us a couple of weeks now. So Simone, if you will do the honor of making the introductions.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's my pleasure. I would like to introduce you to Trish Conley-Knight. She is our new manager of Recreation, Culture, and Heritage. She comes with us with a wealth of experience, knowledge, and expertise in all of these areas of focus. She did join us just late August, and she's been a wonderful addition to our team. You can see her there on the screen. And I know that she looks forward to meeting each of you and staff and our community members in person at some point. That would be nice. Yeah, and she actually has a couple reports even coming this week, so we threw her right in.
Great. Well, for sure, welcome, Trish. I'm sure everybody will look forward to getting together with you at some point, mask and all.
Thank you very much. Through your worship, I just wanted to say thank you, and it's great to meet everybody. And I do look forward to meeting everyone in person. And it's been a great 1 month so far with the town of Huntsville, and I'm looking forward to a long tenure. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next up, Orange Shirt Day. The reason we're all wearing orange shirts. We actually. I will mention, in case anybody is interested, the orange shirts all came from an official site that provides some funding back towards education, awareness, and training of Indigenous rights and programs and things like that. So this is good. But we are doing Orange Shirt Day on Thursday this week, and hopefully council has it in their calendar. We'll have a very small march down to from behind Town Hall, I guess, down to Rivermill Park, where we're going to have a small ceremony. We'll have some smudging, we'll have some drumming, we have some special speakers, and the whole thing will probably take about an hour. And I hope everybody can attend, and I hope everybody in the public that's watching gets a chance to come out on the 30th. So the small march is at 1 o'clock. The activities start in Rivermill Park at 1:30. So I look forward to seeing folks out there. And last but not least, just wanted to update the rest of council. Our district councillors are aware that we have a new Fairburn site. Probably everybody's aware of it now because it was passed at district last Monday. But I just wanted to publicly thank both the Cockwell and Dowdy families for this very generous donation. We now have 5 acres for our new state-of-the-art Fairburn, right in our urban center. It's going to be the best Fairburn ever because we're coming in on the backs of COVID, and everything's going to be done right. The home's going to be kind of modular. It's going to be pods. Residents are going to feel like they're part of a family. And I think it's just great that this Fairburn is going to be where people can walk to it, and it's going to be in a residential neighborhood. And our seniors are going to feel like part of our community when they end up there. So again, thank you to former Mayor Dowdy and his business partner for a very generous donation. If there's any questions, council, just on the location and stuff, probably everybody's heard. The news is a week old, so. And our CEO has an update on the rest of the program later on through a report. So finally, we get to deputations. And we have a deputation from Mary Ellen Federley on the YMCA Employment and Learning Services update. And Mary Ellen, do you have a PowerPoint for us?
I do.
Okay, I'll let you share your screen then.
Okay, thank you. There we go. Can you see the presentation on the full screen?
Yes, it's there. You go ahead.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Mayor Terziano, council, and staff. Thank you very much for allowing me to do a deputation this evening to bring you up to speed about a little bit of what we've been doing at the YMCA Employment Services. I think it's been a couple of years since I've been here, so I'm certainly very happy to be here this evening. We have been providing services in the community for 18 years. And I wanted to give you a little bit of a snapshot, so I just picked the last 5 years. During that time, we've injected over $500,000 into the community to help employers onboard new staff and to assist job seekers starting new employment. Over 80% of the clients who access our services found employment or participated in training to gain new skills. We offer free local resources to both our clients, who are job seekers and employers. And some of those things are internet access, computers, free job postings, and quite a few other things. We offer these services through one-on-one service to help people find work. We connect with local employers to staff. We connect local employers to staff. And one of the ways we do this is by hosting the Huntsville Job Fair. And I think I want to say thank you to the town of Huntsville for partnering with us on this event. And we've hosted it for 15 years. Last year was the first time we did this in a virtual format using the Zoom platform, and we were able to still connect employers and job seekers with that manner. We also partner with Ontario Works, Community Living, and other community partners to help our most vulnerable through the lens of employment. We offer specialized programming for youth, focusing on resiliency, and we deliver literacy services as well in our center, and that helps to teach people the basics of reading, writing, and computer basics. You may have heard in the past 2 years that Employment Ontario has gone through a transformation. The ministry the government of Ontario decided to choose 3 regions in the province to act as prototypes for this new transformation model. And Muskoka-Kawartha region was chosen as a rural example in this province. So we have been partnering with Fleming College, who is the service system manager that was chosen to roll out the prototype in this region. Through this model, we've been partnering with Canadian Mental Health, vision, and hearing loss organizations, and community living to support integrated client services. There's been a renewed focus on the integration of Ontario Works and ODSP clients into employment services. And the purpose for that is to cut down on the duplication of services, with the idea being that when clients in those two areas are ready for employment services, they would be referred to the employment service providers. This model also includes an increased injection in funding for job seekers and employer onboarding supports. And this money, of course, is directly spent in our community. Fleming College has chosen, in conjunction with Ryerson University, to create an online service for our community, which includes an interactive job board and resources for employers. So throughout the pandemic, we've been continuing to operate all of our services virtually. So we've never closed, and we have just in the last 6 weeks started to offer in-person services again, which we're glad to do and happy to see our job seekers coming back into the center. We continue to build a strong relationship with community organizations like Ontario Works and ODSP. And already to date this year, we have injected $25,000 into the community. But as I'm sure you are all very aware, the reality is that employers are still struggling to find staff. And we continue to work one-on-one with them to find unique solutions. One of the ways we're doing this is we're supporting them with job posting detail. So we're actually looking at the jobs they're posting and asking them if they're putting their best foot forward in the way of, are they marketing their job opportunities the same way they market their products and services to become an employer of choice and to attract staff in the community. We also are finding solutions to workplace challenges, and some of these I've highlighted here. We're looking at working with employers on job carving, upskilling their existing staff through the Canada-Ontario Job Grant, and that allows them to consider hiring new staff at an entry-level capacity. And in some ways that makes it a little easier for them rather than looking for skilled staff. We are also looking at retention strategies with them, which helps to build capacity and helps them retain the workers that they currently have. Another unique idea is that we actually do reverse job fairs throughout the year. And we do this by creating client biographies with the clients we're currently working with. And then we send those biographies to our 500 employer distribution list. And this allows employers to get a quick snapshot of the clients we're currently working with, and hopefully we can make a match through that service as well. So it's a short period of time to highlight a lot of the things we do, but I hope that I've given you a taste of where we're at right now. I've included my contact information here, and I would be more than happy to offer anyone a tour that would like to come to the center, masked up, of course, and also that, my other contact information, and I have left enough time for questions, I believe. So thank you. I see, I think I can only see a few people on my screen, but I can see that Deputy Mayor Nancy Alcock has her hand raised.
I'll do that. Thank you for stop sharing. Now I can see everybody.
Oh, lovely.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Alcock, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you, Mary Ellen, for the presentation. What a difficult job you guys have, and it's amazing all of the work, and I loved hearing about what you're doing. I do have a question, and periodically at the district, we do get an update about the new program that the province instituted, and working with Fleming College. And I know that you made reference to the goal was to decrease duplication of service. And I know my understanding is there's still growing pains as to how this is rolling out. And I wonder if you can comment on that. Is it decreasing duplication from your point of view? are there strengths that are sort of becoming obvious under the new system, or is that an entirely unfair question?
Thank you for your question. There definitely are strengths, and I think we're very encouraged with the theory behind the new model. Are there growing pains? Absolutely. But we are certainly strengthening the programming that we're offering to be prepared to help with that transition. We've had quite a few referrals already through Ontario Works over the course of the last, starting in January. And we're encouraged with the building of that relationship with Ontario Works. Fortunately, we have had a strong relationship with them in the past, so we're only growing that relationship. But there are definitely growing pains. I would not, would have to agree with that. But we are meeting monthly with the local Ontario Works staff and doing case studies, and we're doing sharing of our programs so that we can best know how to refer and how to support the clients that are coming our way from Ontario Works.
Okay, that's really helpful. Thank you. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Your Worship, very much. And thank you, Mary Ellen. And congratulations to all the great work that you do. One of the bullets that you had on, I think it was the second last slide, talked about finding unique solutions. And I'm wondering, I find that rather intriguing. And I'm wondering if you could give us an example of one of those without getting into personalities and so on and so forth.
Sure. So we've always supported employers by working with them one-on-one, and we do something called a needs analysis, which we run through what they're exactly looking for in their job posting. So now we have the opportunity, we've had to get a little bit more creative around that aspect because there are unique challenges. And it isn't good enough to just put out an ad anymore. So that's one of the things we're doing, is really drilling down into the detail of that job. And sometimes an employer is so close to the situation that they don't see the things they have that are unique in their place of business. So sometimes I'll give you an example of that, which was identified in the labor market study that Tom Zizis did for the District of Muskoka. One of the things he cataloged was that job seekers were saying that employers don't give schedules out soon enough, so that sometimes folks are balancing two jobs. And if you put your scheduling out long enough in advance, then it makes it much easier for a job seeker to be able to balance a second job. We have one employer in the community that does a 3-week schedule rotating. And that's been identified as one of her strongest offerings to people who are often working 2 part-time jobs. So that's just an example. We go through questions with them and we ask them, and it can be something they're not even aware of that is a real benefit to a job seeker. And so by pointing that out, it helps them to become an employer of choice. So that's one of the solutions, Councillor Thompson, that I think is really, we're finding is making a difference. And of course, each individual employer is so different that by going through those conversations, we're helping. One other quick one is we do something called job carving. And that is a time when we look at the challenges that the employer is having. And sometimes we can carve a position out from taking a little piece from one person and a little piece from another person and actually creating a position, which we call job carving. And then by putting a person in that position, it kind of allows your other 2 pieces to go on and maybe take on additional tasks in the workplace. And in the old days, we used to call something like that might fall into that would be filing. So I'll just give you an example, but you might be able to say, you know what, this person's spending a lot of time on administrative tasks. If we can take some of those away and perhaps centralize them, it might free that person up in other aspects. So it's really just supporting them in an HR capacity and hoping to find little solutions like that that might make a difference.
Thank you, Mary Ellen. That's a terrific, great explanation. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Councillor Armour.
Thank you, Your Worship, to you. Thank you for the presentation. I'm just curious, as you drive around Huntsville and area, you see help wanted signs just about everywhere. What do you seems to be the biggest hurdle? Is it just people, wages, or just trying to find the skill to fill those jobs?
Thank you for your question. It's a bit of a combination, but I'll be honest with you, we are seeing fewer people through our doors. So there definitely are fewer people that are seeking our support. And that could be because the jobs are so plentiful that those that do want one find one fairly easily. But there definitely is, I would say there are just less people looking right now. And that, as we know, can be a combination of things. But one of them is housing in the area, which I know is being worked at both the town and district level. But we do find that sometimes we hear stories that employers hire people and then the person can't find anywhere to live and unfortunately has to decline the opportunity. So that is definitely a big one. But we are seeing fewer people as well, and we're hoping that, you know, as perhaps some of the federal benefits finish up that have been supporting people through CERB, and people, of course, feel safer to work. There's a lot of factors in there, but we're hoping some of those, as the pandemic perhaps goes away a little bit more, that perhaps we'll see some more folks coming into the center for employment.
And Councillor Schumacher.
Thank you through your worship, and great presentation, Mary Ellen. I do appreciate this. I did 7 years of job coaching when I did work for a community living organization, so I know sort of the beating the path and the job carving aspect of things, and dealing with employers who want all aspects of the job covered. So I kudos to you for that. And are you finding opportunities to even work with employers that say the 9-to-5 job is not the go-to anymore, or that, you know, you have moms who might want to get their kids on the bus first, and then so, hey, I can start at 9:30 instead of 9 o'clock. And are you able to work with employers to make those kind of accommodations so they can work for maybe a small amount of time, an employer gets an employee, but it might have to, work it that way?
Absolutely. Thank you for your question. And you're absolutely right. And when I mentioned the needs analysis that we do, that's a one-on-one process where we actually ask an employer all of the things that they're looking for and what the purpose of that is. Like, what is the real need that you need that piece for? And sometimes it can be something like a grade 12 education. And we'll say, well, what is it about a grade 12 education that you need? And so by listening to their answers, we can sometimes come up with creative solutions. And you're absolutely right. Starting times is a big one with people trying to put children on the bus, and working mothers, working parents for sure. And another one is we discuss a concept called work share, where again, I'm sure you're familiar with work share, but it's where you would have 2 people sharing one job, and they might be able to cover off the full-time equivalent for an employer by working 2 people part-time at that role. So we really drill down in that needs analysis, and that's one of the key pieces, is getting to the root of what the employer really needs. And sometimes they can step back and say, oh, okay, I didn't realize that by putting that, I was limiting the candidates who might apply. So it's really that one-on-one relationship building that we've been doing for 18 years. And fortunately, we have a lot of good relationships with the employers in our community, and we can build that capacity hopefully for them.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I don't see any other hands, Mary Ellen, but thank you so much for the presentation. I think I will see you tomorrow. I think I'm coming out to pedal the bike tomorrow afternoon.
Yes, thank you.
Thank
you, Mayor Terziano. And if anyone would like to come out and see that event around 3:10 in the afternoon, we have a nice little donation jar. We would be happy to have a quarter or two to add to our donations. So thank you so much for mentioning that.
And alternatively, you can come out and pedal the bike yourselves too.
Yeah, that would be a great one too. So we would just be thrilled to have you there, any of you that can attend. And thank you, Mayor Terziano, for coming.
Okay, thanks a lot for being here. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks kindly. Okay, take care. Thank you.
I have a resolution moved by Councillor Armour, seconded by Councillor Stone. Be it resolved that the regular council meeting minutes dated August 23rd, 2021 be adopted as printed and circulated. All in favor? That carries. Okay, reports from committees. We'll start with the library, which is mine, and there's not a lot new at the library other than they are back open, obviously following COVID protocols as everybody is, and working on our budget. So those are probably exactly what everybody's doing these days. But if there's any questions, Councillor Thompson?
Yeah, thank you, Worship. Just one. I noticed that the hours are very restricted right now, and I'm just wondering if there's plans in the immediate future to widen those hours and maybe the days that the public can get to the library, because I think it's closed Sundays and Mondays as well.
It is, and it's one of the things that we've been discussing right now. The library budget will only support the hours that you see it open, and the budget that the library is putting forward for 2022 right now is not looking at much of an increase in hours. Strictly because of budgetary concerns, we may be looking at a library that's only open 5 days a week going into 2022. We have had some calls. I know I've had some emails and calls from people that that think our hours are too restrictive right now. But that's something the board is still working on. So stay tuned for the results of that. Okay, BIA Board of Management, Councillor Stone.
All right. The BIA has received many wonderful items for the time capsule. And we're looking forward to that going in. Here's a few dates for you. The Tiny Tots Parade is on October 30th. It's always fun to see the little people walking around. Girlfriend's Getaway Weekend, November 12th and 14th. And the BIA is working really hard at putting together their first annual outdoor holiday market. That's going to be the weekend of the Santa Claus Parade, November 27 and 28. It's going to be outdoors. There's going to be eating, shopping, sleigh rides, lots of activities for the kids. I would just like to wish Morgan Richter well. She got married on the weekend, and so she is the manager of the BIA board. And lastly, the BIA is looking to hire an assistant manager or an assistant to help with marketing and communication. So if you know anyone, we're looking for someone. And aside from that, I don't have anything new from the BIA.
Questions for Councillor Stone? Councillor Withy.
Thank you, Worship. So you're looking to hire somebody new. Where does the money come from for a hire?
Well, there's the BIA levy that the businesses pay, all the building owners pay actually into a BIA levy, and that's where the funding comes from.
Okay, thanks.
Councillor Stone, I know that the Santa Claus Parade isn't necessarily an initiative of the BIA, but has anybody heard whether there are plans for the parade this year, or whether it's going to be a COVID casualty again?
I don't know the answer to that. Okay. I'll look into it.
Okay, thanks. Committee of Adjustment, you're still up, Councillor.
I'm still up. All the applications were approved without much controversy, unless someone has a question. There's nothing of note.
Questions? Seeing none. The Licensing Committee.
All right, so yes, we had our first meeting for the Licensing Committee. There were 2 applications that came to us. The one was Bigelow, and I believe most of council remembers that there was a short-term rental property that had another little place like on the property, kind of like glamping, and wanted to have that as an offering as well. So committee looked at everything and we ended up granting it. But the two are connected so that if there's trouble at either of the short-term rentals, then we would be dealing with those as one. So if their license is pulled, they both get pulled. The other one was 18 Halgren Lane, and that was postponed. The applicant wanted it postponed. So we met again a week later, and that was about operating without a license. And committee ended up giving permission for him to apply for a license. During that meeting or that application, it was only about operating without a license. It didn't address any complaints from neighbors. But in our decision regarding this particular application, we imposed a one-strike rule where there is a two-strike rule generally. We imposed a one-strike rule for any difficulties at that property for the next 12 months. And that's an in-depth overview.
Questions, Council? Okay, thanks for that, Councillor Stone. Chamber of Commerce, Councillor Weeb is away, so we have nothing there. And the Municipal Accommodation Tax Board, our meeting this past week was postponed to this week, so no update there either. Okay, I have a resolution moved by Councillor Armour, seconded by Councillor Stone. Be it resolved that the General Committee meeting minutes dated August 25th, 2021, and the recommendations contained therein be hereby adopted as printed and circulated. Questions? All in favor? That carries. And I have a resolution moved by Deputy Mayor Alcock, seconded by Councillor Fitzgerald. Be it resolved that the Planning Committee meeting minutes dated September 15th, 2021, and the recommendations contained therein be hereby adopted as printed and circulated. Deputy Mayor Alcock.
Thank you, Worship. I can be really brief. It was we had a lot of items at our committee meeting. At the first and probably most interesting one was we had a presentation from SGL Planning and Design, which is our consultant responsible for the community planning permit process. And we also had a report from staff on that. And they were asking committee for approval to release the draft permit document for public consultation and consultation with agencies and stakeholders. And we, of course, approved that. And probably worth noting that we have a special council meeting, which is a statutory public meeting for that on October 27th at 6 p.m. I believe there is another meeting virtually before that that is just straight another public input meeting. So that will be on our website by now. Committee also heard 9 separate zoning amendment applications that we approved, all of them with the exception of one, which was deferred for 1 month, and that was for a multi-building with proposed 6 units in it that would be affordable, and that is on Veterans Way. There was a neighbor that was supportive of the project in principle, but had some issues, very specific issues, and the applicant agreed to do some further consultation with them. And finally, we approved 1 site plan application, and that's my report.
Questions? Seeing none, all in favor? That carries. Okay, reports. First one is the 2021-22 Eclipse Walk with Light event at MHP and Town Sites. Update, Ron Gosling.
Thank you, Your Worship. Insofar as the attraction scheduled at MHP, the differences between then and now are first the time frame. They're able to get a much earlier start than was the case if it had gone ahead last year. The target date to start is November 2nd, and it's going to run through till May 7th. Second, they'll be using the main MHP entrance rather than the train station as the event access point and the control center. Third, the skiing and snowshoeing daytime activity has been relocated and is not on town property. The differences for the other attractions that aren't at MHP, the Leafs alumni hockey game has been removed, the Lions Lookout skating rink has been removed from their list, and third, they've added a lighting installation in Kent Park. So the lighting installations will be at the Civic Center Town Clock at Rivermill Park. Those two were previously scheduled, and they're adding one at Kent Park. There's no request for additional money over the $41,500 originally approved. And the new financial impact in 2021 is about $3,100 less in kind than the original ask last year. As stated in the report, there'll be a rental agreement between the Chamber and MHP for the MHP related activities, as well as the community services team will have a separate agreement between the town and the Chamber for park usage. If anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Questions, Council? The only thing I notice is the difference with the in-kind contribution and the original resolution that's still on our books indicates that our in-kind contribution is greater than what it is now. And I guess my question is, should we not have a resolution that supports the different number? And if we do have a resolution, apparently we need 2/3 of council approval because it's not on the agenda. Does council feel strongly one way or another? Councillor Armour?
Thank you, so I think we should actually nail this down and put it in motion. So we have a dollar figure clear.
Okay. Tanny, do you have a resolution that we can put on the screen?
I do, Mayor Terziano.
I think Councillor Armour will move it and we'll need a seconder. Councillor Thompson. So moved by Councillor Armour, seconded by Councillor Thompson, whereas Council Resolution number 31120 approved the 2021 Winter Snow Fest and Light Festival event, and whereas Council Resolution 15621 outlined that the event did not proceed due to COVID-19 and directed staff to bring back an updated report for the new event, therefore be it resolved that the financial commitment as stipulated in the 2021 operating budget be reaffirmed, and further that the in-kind pledge of $46,656 be reduced to $43,560 as outlined in report CS 2021-10. Questions? Those numbers are right, are they, Ron? The reduction?
They are projections.
Yeah.
You know, they're obviously based upon snow load and other factors, but as best as we can get, yes.
Okay. All in favor? And I see we have 2/3 for that, so that carries. Thank you. Okay, thanks, Ron. Outdoor rink. I have a resolution moved by Councillor Stone, seconded by Councillor Armour. Be it resolved that staff be directed to proceed with a one-season 2021-22 outdoor rink project at Lions Lookout Field at a projected cost of $51,399 to be funded through the town portion of the Huntsville accommodation tax. And further that staff be directed to report back at the end of the season with an evaluation of the use and cost to determine if the rink should continue on a permanent basis. And further that should an established community group wish to proceed with maintaining Can Lake as an outdoor rink, staff be authorized to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the group for said use. Steve, are you going to speak to this?
I certainly can, Mayor Terziano. So we've put together the report based on council requests that we take a look at the rink up there as you've seen it. It's a basic surface, meaning there's no boards. We're going to build it on the existing grass field. 100 by 200 is the plan right now. There is $15,000 in that cost to extend the water line up there, as we need water up there. It's almost there, but it's not there, with some frost protection on it. And the remainder is what we are predicting or estimating the staff time, which is basically we've put in 40 hours a week for a 16-week period. Everybody we've talked to about ice surfaces and the amount of time tell us the same thing. It depends on usage and weather conditions. And we truly don't know if that number is high or low. I'll be honest with you. I've had some council members talk to me and think that 40 hours a week is more than what we need. And my answer to them is, if you can tell me what the weather is going to be like and what the usage is like, we could nail this down a little better. But right now we've put a budget together, and it does cross over 2 budget years for us, because we'd have to start the work in November. We think have the rink up by December sometime if weather cooperates, and then we'd be into the new budget year. And that's why I broke it down into the 2 columns. So that's it from a staffing perspective, if you will, and then what our plan is. I think the report speaks to the other items. I know Julia is with us today if you've got questions on the finance, and Simone is with us as well in case you have any questions regarding the Zamboni and what the Zamboni used to do on Can Lake. The Can Lake, because it was the user group was going to look after and maintain, the only thing that our insurance company is recommending is that we enter into a memorandum of understanding with them on who's responsible for what, very similar to what we do now with the Lions Club in Port Sydney.
Okay. Questions from council? Steve, I have one question about the 40 hours a week. Are we hiring a 40-hour-a-week person, and or are we doing this with existing staff and just charging the hours out to the rink?
No, we were looking to hire a part-time student, or not a student, but a part-time employee for the winter months to dedicate to that ice surface up there. Our existing staff is tied up with snow removal on sidewalks and whatnot.
So if we hire somebody for up to 40 hours a week, I mean, if it doesn't snow for a week, is that person working, or are we committing a job to somebody at 40 hours a week, or just as needed?
We'd like to advertise as needed, but I think you're probably going to have to guarantee them 40 hours if you want somebody to commit for the winter months. We'll certainly try and do it as a part-time basis, but I know right now we have a tough time at Medill getting any operators unless we guarantee 40 hours a week. They're not glamorous hours. It's going to be late nights, early mornings, and usually the only way you can find somebody willing to do that is if you guarantee them something like 40 hours a week, and we'd make sure they're doing something. They're not going to be sitting at home collecting a paycheck, if you will. We can certainly advertise it on an odd call basis, but I just don't know if you'll find anybody.
I guess my only concern is that if we're guaranteeing somebody 40 hours a week and there's not 40 hours a week on the rink surface, that we're outside the scope of what MAP dollars should be used for. MAP dollars are not to be used to hire somebody to do something else because it didn't snow. So that's where I would have the concern.
Okay.
Councillor Armour, I think you were next.
Thank you, Your Worship. Too. I'm just wondering, did we or did you research the possibility of any types of volunteers to come up and look after the rink, or has that been an option at all?
Through you, Mayor Terziano, we did not look at volunteers for the Lions Lookout because the volunteers said that they were going to look after Can Lake. That was the presentation made to council. They wanted the town to look after the Lions Lookout, and they were going to, the Rotary Club was going to look after Can Lake. So we did not look for any other volunteer group that was interested.
Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to Director Hernan. I would anticipate that this position for the Lions Lookout would have to almost be a contract position. Would that be sort of a reasonable assumption, Steve?
It would, through you, Mayor Terziano, we envision it as a part-time employee position. So not really a contract. We're not bringing in a company to do it. We're going to bring an employee in, but they would not be full-time. They'd be a seasonal part-time employee, just like our summer staff is, per se. If it's council's wishes, we could put it out for tender if you wanted to see if we could find a company that could do it.
Councillor Withey.
Thank you, Worship. So should this report not have included this staff position as well?
I think it does include, it includes 40 hours for 16 weeks, does it not?
Through you, Mayor Terziano, it does. And it actually shows it SWB, salary, wages, and benefits. So in 2021, for the ice removal or for the creating of the rink and the snow removal, we're budgeting $8,600. And for 2022, we're budgeting $14,348 for a total of $22,948. And then below, there's another line item to have the resurfacer go up there. And maybe Director Babel could talk a little bit more about that, and what the ice surfacer can do up there by scraping the ice three times a week if the use requires it.
I see it. I apologize. I see it.
Okay, any other questions? If this is approved, I guess I would just caution the usage of the MAP funds for hours that aren't designated to that attraction. All in favor of the resolution? That carries. Okay. Julia, we have the modernization. Moved by Councillor Withey, seconded by Councillor Thompson. Be it resolved that Council approve proceeding with the Huntsville and Muskoka Lakes Joint Financial Accounting and Enterprise Resource Modernization Project to be funded through the Corporate Software Reserve to a maximum amount of $70,000. And further, that Council authorize staff to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the Township of Muskoka Lakes regarding the equal cost sharing of the approved municipal modernization funding intake 2 for this update of the Financial Accounting and Enterprise Resource Modernization Project. And further, that the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign the transfer payment agreement for the municipal modernization program and any related documentation. And further, that council approve the hiring of a project manager for the Huntsville and Muskoka Lakes Joint Financial Accounting and Enterprise Resource Modernization Project to be funded through the project budget. Julia.
Thank you, Your Worship. So back in February, Council approved us submitting an expression of interest through the intake 2 of the Municipal Modernization Program. And this was for the completion of the accounting software implementation with Huntsville as a project lead and Muskoka Lakes as the partner. So Huntsville was successful in obtaining $260,000 to use towards this project, which is split between Huntsville and Muskoka Lakes. Of this, the funding is about 65. This funding is 65% of the total eligible costs. So based on the costs that we expect the project to be between the two, around 400,000, Huntsville will have to contribute 70,000. So we're recommending that the funds come from the corporate software reserve, as this was set up originally for replacing and purchasing new corporate software out of that reserve fund. And then just given the scope of this project and the timelines, it has to be completed by September 2022. So even though that's a year from now, it still is a tight time frame for a project of this size. So we are recommending both of us, Huntsville and Muskoka Lakes, that we do use a portion of these funds to contract a project manager to lead this project for both municipalities. And then this will help ensure that we have a smooth and timely implementation. So we are meeting those dates.
Questions?
8, 16.
So the $70,000, each municipality is paying $70,000 towards the project manager?
For the total project. So if the total project is 400,000, and that would include the project manager, we each have to contribute 70.
Yeah, but the province funded 265, did they?
260.
260. So basically we're funding 70,000 each for the project manager.
So we're not anticipating that the project manager will be that much. We're anticipating the total project cost will be 400,000.
Okay.
And that would include the project manager. We're not sure what that cost will be yet. And we still have to go for RFP for the total project. So we may have to come back at some point, or we will be coming back just to give an update on what the results of the RFP are as well.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Allen.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thanks, Julia, for the presentation. Just a quick question. So the project manager is likely a one-year contract position, something like that to get it going. And given our recent discussion about trying to find people, do you anticipate it's going to be easy to find someone who has that particular skill set to take on that role? I'm just curious.
So we're always optimistic. So we're hoping that there's somebody out there that will take it. It will definitely just be a one-year contract. It will just be for the project, and it will just be very specific, so that they're only working on that project and making sure that both us and Muskoka Lakes are on track and getting that up and running, that sort of thing. But it definitely would just be a one-year contract.
Right. Okay. Just curious. Thanks.
Councillor Thompson.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Julie, could you just take a moment to refresh council on exactly what this program is all about?
Through Your Worship, certainly. So we do have an existing accounting program right now that all of our other programs feed into for our financial reporting. So right now it's our iCity or VADM program, and we implemented that back in 2009, and we're just I don't want to get into details of what issues we're having, but we just want to make sure that we're being more efficient and making sure we've got the kind of most up-to-date software, because it's used quite a bit, and it's used by pretty much everybody in the corporation that's using financial information.
Okay. All in favor? That carries. Thanks, Julia. Have a resolution moved by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Stone. Be it resolved that the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign any necessary documentation related to the new location for the Fairburn development on Center Street. Madam CAO.
Thank you, Your Worship. So the report is detailed, but just to summarize, Council is aware that we did enter into an agreement with Pat Dubé, as well as Fairburn Nursing Home, for the construction of the Fairburn property on Mr. Dubé's property. And the scope of the project obviously increased to our benefit. 160 beds is a great addition to the community, but it was more or less deemed that the property wasn't conducive to the construction of a building of that size. So there's lots of discussions going on, as I've reported to council previously, with Mr. Dubé to see if we could find another location. And it turned out that we were not able to. At that point in time, Fairburn Nursing Home the District of Muskoka was working with Fairburn Nursing Home to look for an alternate property, and it was decided, as announced by the district after last Monday's meeting, that a new location had been selected off of Center Street. So we needed to tie up some loose ends with the letter of intent, which was entered into a number of years ago. And part of that letter of intent indicated that the funds that we had contributed, up to $250,000 for the construction of the road, and the $15,000 toward the studies, would be reimbursed to the town of Huntsville, as well as the funds paid out by Fairburn Nursing Home would be paid back to Fairburn. So the report is advising the letter of intent has expired. We are in the process of obtaining the funds back that we've contributed to date. And from this point on, the District of Muskoka will be working on the development of the Fairburn Nursing Home. So I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Oh, sorry, Councillor Armour, did you have a question?
Just through you to CEO Corey, I wonder if she'd just explain where those funds that are coming back are going to go to. Just in case anybody's watching.
Thank you, through Your Worship. So the funds, when we had originally taken them out to pay, the $160,000, it was broken out where we took the funds from. Roughly 70,000 was from development charges, roads and related, so that will go back in. And the 950,000 and 15,000 came from the Public Works Capital Reserve. So our treasurer will make sure wherever the funds came from initially, will be put back in the same location.
All right, all in favor of the resolution? That carries. A resolution moved by Councillor Stone. We're at bylaws and agreements. Moved by Councillor Stone, seconded by Deputy Mayor Alcott. Be it resolved, the council, after due consideration of the proposed Z15 2020 HTE bylaw 2021-84 Chamberlain and the amendments which are being considered by council subsequent to the public meeting, hereby conclude that the amendments are not of such a nature that further notice be given with respect to the proposed zoning bylaw amendment pursuant to section 3417 of the Planning Act. All in favor? That carries. I have a list of bylaws as long as I've ever seen, council. I'm thinking I might ask the clerk if you have them, whether we could put them on the screen for the reading, just so that we don't lose track. Do we have that we can throw up?
Sure.
Okay.
So, open up the motion. It'll just take me one moment. I think it is a record.
It looks like one. So I have a resolution moved by Councillor Fitzgerald and seconded by Councillor Schumacher. Be it resolved that bylaw numbers 2021-67 to 2021-85 be reported and read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed this 27th day of September 2021. And we'll just stick them up there so that we can see them. So bylaws 2021-67 through to 2021-85, and I'm not going to read them all. They're there for council and they were in your package. Thanks, Tanya. All in favor? That carries. Oh, we have no previous business. But I do have a resolution moved by Councillor Schumacher and seconded by Deputy Mayor Alcott. Whereas the Truth and Reconciliation Commission released its final report on June 2nd, 2015, which included 94 calls to action to redress the legacy of residential schools and the advance of the process of Canadian reconciliation. And whereas the recent discoveries of remains and unmarked graves across Canada have led to increased calls for all levels of government to address the recommendation in the TRC's call to action. And whereas all Canadians and all orders of government have a role to play in reconciliation. And whereas recommendation number 80 of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission called upon the federal government in collaboration with Aboriginal peoples to establish a statutory holiday, a national day for truth and reconciliation, to ensure that public commemoration of the history and legacy of residential schools remains a vital component of the reconciliation process. Therefore, be it resolved, the Council commits to recognizing September 30th annually as the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, National Orange Shirt Day, and that staff be directed to work with members of the Muskoka Area Indigenous Leadership Table to develop a meaningful and culturally appropriate program to ensure that the town of Huntsville recognizes National Day for Truth and Reconciliation in future years, and that both staff and elected officials continue to work towards truth and reconciliation throughout the year. This resolution was passed at district. I think it's being passed across our country, and I'm sure that we will pass it today as well. But it also brings a good opportunity to speak about something just a little bit further. And Council will remember when we lowered the flag upon the discovery of the first residential graves, and then we did it a second time, and we put the flag back up after a few days the second time. And I said that evening that I hope that we could do something more permanent to recognize those. So in conjunction with this resolution and recognizing September 30th, which incidentally our flag will go down to half mast for the day as well, We have the new park beside Town Hall being created between Town Hall and the church. And Colleen McDonald and I were both out to the quarry today, actually looking at some boulders for that park. And if council is supportive of the idea, we would consult with the Indigenous community. But we were thinking of putting our land acknowledgement statement right into that boulder, having it etched into that boulder as a permanent observation of truth and reconciliation. So if council's supportive of us continuing to do that, it's just because the timing is short, because the park is underway and will be completed fairly quickly. So I'm kind of rolling that into this resolution, not that it's part of the resolution, but the topic is very, it's just very timely. Deputy Mayor Alcock.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just, I think it's a brilliant idea. I don't know if it requires a separate motion, but if it does, I'd be absolutely thrilled to move that motion. And I think it's a great idea. And obviously you, as you said, you will be consulting with the Indigenous roundtable that you're part of. And so if your engraving is part of the boulder, I think at one point you said something, there might be something around that as well, some grasses that are significant, so that it clearly is, it's almost a memorial spot, right, that becomes part of the reconciliation walk or something like that. So I just want to say, I think brilliant idea. I am so very supportive.
Thank you. Councillor Thompson.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, I agree with Deputy Mayor Alcock. Would this be our land recognition statement that is that what would be on the rock, on the stone, I should say, that we read at the beginning of each council?
That would be the plan right now, but we will consult with the Indigenous community to make sure that that's the appropriate message to put on there. But something, yeah. If not that, something similar. But that's probably what we would be proposing. You know what though, I'm really kind of muddying the waters here, I realize. So maybe I better call the question on the actual resolution that we read for the September 30th. All in favor of that one? Okay, and that carries. And so then just back to, I don't know that we need a resolution right now, because we are going to do the consultation, and we are going to, we'll figure out what the price tag would be for that. We have a general idea, and it's pretty reasonable. So, but we will come back with a report. Just if there's no objection, we may get the actual rock into the park without doing anything else to it, because it will be part of the landscaping that goes there. So I see thumbs up, and that's great. Thank you. Okay, we're down to council correspondence, which is in your package, and we're on to the District of Muskoka updates. And Councillor Withy, you're up first.
Thank you, Your Worship. We had our meeting last week. We had a report from the Fairburn executive who was placed in there by district. Sort of further to our deputation, there's issues at Fairburn and Pines with shortage of staff. In fact, Fairburn is down 18 people currently, so in different positions. On the heels of that news, we got a report about the government's fast-tracking PSWs training, where they've offered free tuition and shortened the period of time they need to get their credentials. And we signed an agreement with Conestoga College to have students on site in the Pines for part of their training, which helps, and hopefully attracts people to stay there full time after they get their accreditation. And the other thing, we also just signed a renewal for mutual assistance agreement with Simcoe, which is something that was expiring, which basically is an agreement that says if they need anything from us, we'll respond, and vice versa. If anything happens, say a disaster or something, we would come to each other's assistance. And that's about it. Thanks.
Questions?
I'm sorry, was that me?
Councillor Thompson.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, through you to Councillor Withy. Thanks for that, Councillor. And you mentioned the PSWs, and has the $3, I think it was $3 an hour increase in their wage, and I think originally it was temporary, but is that still in place, Councillor, or is there any word that you're aware of that would be extended or maybe be made permanent?
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. That wasn't part of the report, strangely enough, so I guess I don't know the answer to that question. Sorry about that.
I believe it's extended to October 31st, but I could be wrong too.
Okay, Councillor Thompson, you're still up with engineering and public works.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it was a fairly short meeting, and I actually had to leave it before it was over. But the major thrust of the meeting was a report from Director Marcus Furman, and it detailed the 6 years that he's been director of wastewater management and water management at the District of Muskoka. He's actually leaving us, as a matter of fact. So he's terminating his employment and actually retiring, at least from the district. He'll be staying on different advisory boards with the province of Ontario and that kind of thing. But anyway, it was a very extensive updating on what's happened in the District of Muskoka over the last 6 years, and some very positive, I guess, upgrades and new initiatives and so on and so forth that have been initiated and put in place at the various wastewater treatment plants and water treatment plants around Muskoka, not the least of which is the one right here in our neck of the woods, and that would be, of course, Golden Pheasant. So yeah, everything seems to be come along swimmingly, and a lot of the initiatives that have been initiated with regards to Golden Pheasant seem to be at the 95% completion area. And yeah, other than that, it was just the regular meeting of spending taxpayers' money on capital projects, Your Worship. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Alcock.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a quick question through you to Councillor Thompson. So if Marcus is leaving, is he not responsible for spearheading the whole capacity review across the district? And how is that coming, that capacity review?
That's a very good question, and I don't have the answer to that, Councillor or Deputy Mayor Alcock. I would anticipate that he would be continuing on in different roles and different capacities, because he did say that there were certain areas that he had been involved in and is involved in and would be continuing. It was just the end of his employment with the District of Muskoka.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Okay. Deputy Mayor Alcock, Community and Planning Services.
I'll be really short. We had 2 statutory public meetings. The first was in consideration the amendment regarding the possibility of extending around the Moose Deer Point community drinking water intake. And the second public meeting was in consideration of a draft plan of subdivision in the town of Gravenhurst. Committee also approved a proposed funding allocation of $560,000 towards 7 new affordable housing units to be created by the Gravenhurst Against Poverty in Gravenhurst in partnership with various other players. And we had one item in closed session with respect to a litigation matter, and that's my report.
Okay. Thank you for that. I don't see any questions, and finance must have been the month of short meetings because finance and corporate services was very quick. I think we approved a couple of new positions to be considered in the draft budget. Other than that, nothing in finance, and council itself, we did the same truth and reconciliation resolution that we just did here. We also supported Georgian Bay and in a 3P partnership they're looking to build an education center in Honey Harbor to be named after Bill Davis. So that was pretty interesting discussion around that. And really, other than that, there wasn't a lot at district until we got to closed session and they did the Fairburn approval. So that was pretty much council. So that is almost it, council, although we do have closed session, and I have a resolution moved by Councillor Thompson and seconded by Councillor Fitzgerald. Be it resolved that the next portion of the meeting be closed to the public commencing now at 7:16 p.m. for the purpose of considering the following matter pertaining to the following section under the Municipal Act, Section 239(2), F, advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose. HR 2021-07 confidential report. All in favor? That carries. And council, we need to zoom out and zoom back in under the closed session.
I squeak.
Okay, and we are back, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Everybody's back. Great. Okay, we have a resolution coming out of closed session, and the clerk will share that on her screen. Who's that? Okay, I have a resolution moved by Councillor Stone, seconded by Deputy Mayor Alcock. Be it resolved that staff be directed to postpone confidential report HR 2021-07 and request staff prepare a mandatory staff and council vaccination policy. Thanks for that. Questions? All in favor? That carries. I don't have that. And I have a resolution moved by Councillor Fitzgerald and seconded by Councillor Stone. Be it resolved that confirmation bylaw 2021-86 be received, numbered, and read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed this 27th day of September 2021. All in favor? That carries. And I have a resolution moved by Councillor Stone and seconded by Councillor Thompson. Be it resolved that we do now adjourn at 8:39 p.m. All in favor? And that carries.